I know, Troy, I can definitely see what you've been doing. I'm just sitting here watching you, even though you don't know. It's my cool little trick. No, I'm just kidding. No, guys, you are all muted and your cameras are all turned off. So we'll go through it in just a second to answer Troy's question. For those of you that are just logging in, no, you cannot be seen, you cannot be heard. So you guys are good. We'll get started here in just a couple more minutes. So go grab another cup of coffee, or in my case, Spark, whatever your beverage of choice is, not that beverage, and grab your cell phone, and we'll get going here in about 2 more minutes. All right, guys, so it is 10:30 a.m. Welcome to your KW Consumer App training. This is for the Clear Lake Market Center. My name is Marty Miller. For those of you that I have not met, I am your regional technology trainer for South Texas. So that includes Houston, Austin, San Antonio, and then all the way south down to the Rio Grande Valley. I've been with Keller Williams for 6+ years now. Started off in the Katy market as an independent agent. I quickly joined a team about 4 months later, worked with Tim Soika and the CTIM Sell team as a buyer's agent, a listing agent. I moved up to become a VP of expansion when we opened our second office. Got to come back to the hub and become the VP of sales, overseeing the entire sales team, and then ultimately became the president of the company when Tim pursued some 7th level projects. So I've seen a lot, done a lot on the production side, got an opportunity to pursue my passion for coaching and training as a productivity coach. I did that most recently on the north side of Houston at the Cypress Market Center, KW Platinum. Worked with an amazing leadership team there, Randy Olive, my OP, Karina Loken. And then as of the first of the year, got to pursue this opportunity as your regional tech trainer. So like I said, I do live here in Katy, happily married. We have twin 5-year-old daughters. We have daughter number 3 on the way. Little Lily Mae comes August 19th. So very excited about that, and excited to be with you guys here today. So housekeeping, yes, you are on a Zoom webinar, which is different than the Zoom meetings that you may have been on. Zoom webinar style means that your camera is automatically turned off and that you are automatically muted. So you don't necessarily have to worry about background noise or what's happening in the background, kids are running through, etc. It just kind of makes it easier for everyone that I have found when we do these training style webinars. If you do want to discuss anything, you have a couple of different options. If you look down here at the bottom of the screen, there should be 3 little buttons. You should have a button for chat. If you pull that up, you can see the chat channel there. You can answer questions or ask questions there. I will have some opportunities to interact with you throughout time on chat. So please have that open so you can answer the questions as I'm asking them of you. In addition, you should have a button, I think it's on this side, that says raise hand. If you have any particular questions that you want to discuss live with me, feel free to raise your hand and I can then unmute you. Your camera will still stay turned off, but your microphone will then be live, and we can actually have a conversation with regards to anything that you guys have got going on. So feel free to raise your hand. If you have a question, you can also throw it in the chat as well, and we can discuss from there. This presentation is being recorded. I will upload it to YouTube and then send the link to your leadership team. So if for any reason you missed part of it, you feel like I'm going too fast, or you have to jump off early, you will get a copy of the recording so that you can go back and rewatch it later, should you choose to share it with your team, or of course any colleagues or coworkers that can't be here. Cool. So that is it for housekeeping. The KW Consumer app. What sort of app is it? Let's test out that chat box. What sort of app are we talking about today? What app is it? This is your chance to show me you know how to use the chat box and type in what sort of app are we talking about today. I like Elisa's answer. The best home search app in the land. Tiana says it's the KW app. We're getting closer. All right, Chitra and Patty are on point. The KW Consumer app. Consumer app. Okay, I know that sounds very basic. Duh, Marty, it's in the title of the class. And yet I'm telling you that because I've had a lot of questions come up as I've been teaching this course, and even before that, where agents are looking for the app to do something and they're wearing their agent hat. And I have to remind you that you got to take that agent hat off, put your consumer hat on, and think about this app from the consumer's point of view, because that's truly who it was created for. It is a consumer-based app. We're going to spend an hour and a half together for about the first 45 minutes to an hour. We are going to put our consumer hat on, and we're going to use the consumer app as the consumer would. Now, I'm going to take breaks and kind of talk to you about some of the things that I want to make sure you're highlighting with your consumers, because here's the reality. They already all have a real estate app on their phone. I can almost guarantee you, right? If it's not HAR, it's going to be Zillow or Redfin or one of those other apps already on their phone. So when you reach out and say, hey, I've got a new app, I want you to download it and check it out, they're going to say, nah, I'm good. Oh, well, do you already have a real estate app? I do. Cool. Which one is it? Okay, let me show you what ours does that one does not. You're going to have to sometimes sell them, if you will, on your new app so that you can get them to transition over to that KW Realty app. And so we'll be doing some things today to kind of show you the differences between our app and some of the other apps that are out there. So first things first, let's go ahead and get into my phone so that we can share my app. You guys can see that on the screen. So give me 2 seconds to load that up. And if you have not already, homework item number 1 is to go to the App Store and actually download the KW app. You'll see it here at the top left of my phone screen. It's got a white background with red KW letters. If you previously downloaded it, an update came out yesterday. So pretty exciting times. An update to the app came out yesterday, so you want to make sure that you go in and update the app if you already had it downloaded. If it's your first time downloading the app, item number 1, you've got to register for an account. The KW Consumer app does not know or care that you are a KW agent. Okay, so you, just like any other consumer, are going to have to register for an account when you first download it. You'll put in your name, your email, your password. That information is what you're going to use to log in the future, just like any other consumer would. Okay, so you can't put in your previous, you can't click on login if you've never created an account before. And I've had people click on login and attempt to put in their connect or consumer or whatever username and password, and it's not working for them because they've never actually created that initial account. Okay, so got to make sure you create that account the first time around. Carol, I see you've got a question. I am allowing you to talk and unmuting you, so you can unmute yourself on your end and go ahead and ask that question, Carol, when you're ready. Carol, are you there? You can just click on unmute and you should have audio. If you clicked on raise your hand on accident, there you go.
Got it. Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi. I've got KW app on my phone. And I had problems when we first put it in. It was with Vonda.
Okay.
And there was an issue on it back then. How do we know if it's been registered and downloaded correctly?
So if it's been downloaded, it's on your phone. And if you, and I'm going to show you how you're going to be able to see whether you actually have a branded version of that app in just a second. So we'll get to that here for you in just one moment.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So once we get into the app, right, you're going to see similar to the screen that is on my phone right now. Now, the way that you're going to know that you have an actual branded version of the app is by clicking on that More button in the bottom right-hand corner. Okay, so let's click on More in the bottom right-hand corner. Now, if for any reason you don't see feed or guide, it's because you have not logged in and you have not connected with an agent. Okay? Additionally, at the very top, if you do not have a picture showing of an agent with their name, you have a what we call non-branded version of the app, meaning the consumer can still go to the App Store. They can download this app and they can do basic searches and some of the other things that are available in the app, but they're not going to get the full features until they actually create an account and then tie their account to an agent. If for any reason your app looks like this, it means that you have not tied your consumer app to an agent. Now, obviously, you're going to want to tie it to yourself so that you can see some of the interactions that later happen between KW Command and the consumer app. So in this case, you would just click on Find an Agent. And if your consumer already knows your name, they can search for you by name. However, if they don't, they can say, well, I want to buy a house in Clear Lake, and they can start searching for Clear Lake, right? And put in Texas. I can see there is the city, Clear Lake. I'm going to start searching. Whoops. Clear Lake. And it will start bringing up agents, right? You can see on the screen agents that work in that area. Now, let me ask you a question based upon, let's just go right here. Based upon the agents that are on this screen, okay? Now, I don't know any of these agents, but I do know they're all amazing agents. But if you were a consumer, you had no affiliation with KW, you downloaded the app, you were looking to work with an agent, and these were the 6 choices that you had on your screen. These were the only 6 agents you could choose from. You don't know anything about them, but you just look at this screen. Which of those 6 are you most likely going to do business with? Which of those 6 are you most likely going to do business with? Yep, so it's starting to come in. Alyssa says the one with a picture, so does Aaron. Dixie says the same thing. Troy's like Maria. Exactly. So guys, your second piece of homework, if you have not already, is to go into KW Command, click on Settings, click on Connect Settings, and fill out your marketing profile. You're also going to want to go to kwconnect.com and make sure your profile is filled out there. When you have your your profile completely filled out, when you click on yourself, you may end up looking something like this. So you can see my headshot has been loaded. I'm on a team, so my team is loaded. My license number is there by default, but then you can see my team logo, team name, the address to my market center, my website, the fact that I'm a MAPS client, mobile and office number, email, and then my full bio. Okay, this is what you want the consumer to be able to see at all times, right? So what I did is I actually just searched for my name, I found my name, and then I clicked on it, and that's what you would see. If we had clicked on Maria, we would have pulled up Maria's profile. If I had searched Chitra for your name, I could click on your name, it would pull up your profile screen. Okay, so it's clicking on any of the agents' names gets this screen pulled up. In order for me as a consumer to tie my app to Marty Miller as my agent, I need to click on the Get in Touch button at the very bottom of the screen. Once I do that, you can see it's going to say, do you want to claim a new agent? This is going to designate Marty Miller as your new agent. I can then click on Confirm. And now you can see it says success. Marty is now your agent. They're going to help you find the right home or sell your current one. You can communicate through the app. I can tap anywhere to dismiss. And then when I come back to the More button, you can now see that my consumer app has been branded to Marty Miller as my agent, all right? So that's what you're looking to do. Homework item number 1, download the app, make sure it's branded to you. Homework item number 2, if your profile hasn't been completely filled out, go make sure your profile has been completely filled out. Now we're going to spend some time searching for homes. Bottom left-hand corner there, magnifying glass. I'm going to click on search. Troy, I didn't prepare you for this, and yet, surprise, Troy, I'm going to allow you to, you should be able to now unmute yourself, Troy.
Yep.
Vacations this year, last 12 months, next 12 months. Where'd you go? What do you got planned? What's up with your vacation plans?
Have not done anything the last 12 months, but in the next 12 months, I want to go back to Vancouver, British Columbia.
Vancouver, British Columbia. Okay. If you were going to go somewhere in the US, where would you go?
I would go to, let's go to Florida because it's sunny and beaches are there.
All right. Where in Florida would you go? What would you go see? Is there a particular beach, a particular restaurant, particular area?
Let's go to Destin.
Destin. Okay. So Destin's a city. Is there a beach there in Destin that you know of?
Oh, no, I don't.
No? All right. So we can do a simple search for Destin. And you can see city pops up. There's Destin, Florida. I don't even have to put in Florida. If I do a search, it's already going to know. Okay. So Dixie wants us to take it a step further. She's like, let's go to Miramar Beach. So I'm just going to type in Miramar Beach and search. And there's Miramar Beach. Now, Dixie, did I put in a street address? Did I even put in a city or a state? I was thinking at first when you said Florida, I was thinking you might have said you want to go to Disney World. Or maybe you want to go to California and go to Disneyland. I don't know. My wife and I went to Yosemite for our honeymoon, and maybe we want to go buy a house there sometime. Maybe we want to go check out the White House. Anyone interested in buying a house around the White House? We don't have to get too political. You don't have to answer that question. And yet, there's the White House. What about, I'd love to see the Statue of Liberty from my balcony. Right? I even spelled it wrong and it still pulled it up. So here's the cool thing, guys. This consumer app, our consumer app, is tied through a partnership with Google, meaning that when you start to type in the name of a landmark or an area, or even something as simple as, I could even just put in Reliant, right? Reliant Stadium, those of you that go to the rodeo, you feel my pain after a long day and a great concert, maybe you don't want to drive home. You could find an investment property right there around Reliant Stadium. Not once did we put in a street address, not once did we put in a city, not once did we put in a state. So that partnership with Google allows you to enter search terms in the top box there, and Google's going to say, what is the most likely location tied to this actual search term? And we'll then zoom in the map based upon that actual search term. So Troy, I appreciate you being my volunteer there. I know I didn't prepare you for that, and I appreciate you being a willing panelist there. So I'll go ahead and take you off that. So that's search item number one. Search for any major term, and it's going to zoom in on the map in the location where Google feels like it's the most likely place you're looking for. Now, the reality is that I don't know, and there might be another Reliant Stadium somewhere in the US. However, Google knows where I'm standing, number one, and number two is like, well, you're probably looking for the one closest to you, so we'll zoom you on the one closest to you. Searching by landmark, common area, park, you don't need to know the address. Go attempt to do this in any other app that your client might have. Go into Zillow and look up Statue of Liberty. It's not going to bring it up. White House, it'll bring up homes for sale on any street it can find named White House Lane, White House Street, right? So one thing that our app does, it allows you to search for actual areas or landmarks or common features, things like that. Let's talk about neighborhoods there in Clear Lake. Someone throw me a couple of popular neighborhoods in the chat in Clear Lake. Neighborhood names there in y'all's area that are popular neighborhoods. All right, Oak Brook West. So I'm going to actually type in Oak Brook West, and then I'm going to click on search. Elisa, is this Oak Brook West? There it is, right? I didn't have to put in the city. I didn't have to put that it was Clear Lake. I didn't have to put in the state. It literally just showed Oak Brook West, right? And I can start to zoom in and I can see, well, there's Oak Brook West. And just below that is Oak Brook. and then there's Camino South, Meadow Green, Bay Glen, Bay Knoll, all the areas that are around Oak Brook West. Now I did have to zoom in just slightly to get those neighborhood names to show up. You'll see originally, if you're too far zoomed out, you're just gonna get properties. As I zoom in a little further, I'll get blue boundary lines for neighborhoods. So I know that those blue boundary lines are powered by our app's partnership with Nextdoor. As I continue to zoom in just a little bit further, I start to get the names of the neighborhoods actually popping up. I can click on any one of those neighborhood names to get more information about the actual neighborhood. So we were talking about Oak Brook West. I can click on that button that says Oak Brook West and get a market snapshot of the neighborhood. I can get some information about what locals say about the neighborhood. I can look up commute times. Now, neighborhoods, they base it upon the city that the neighborhood is in. However, I'll show you more information about commute times from actual listings. I can see the schools that this neighborhood is actually zoned to, and then I can see what the national rankings are of those schools. Here's the thing, how often do we hear, don't be the source of the information, be the source of the information? Great, you can actually see that our app can actually do that for us. I don't have to tell you what the student-teacher ratio is at Clear Lake City Elementary School, because the app can actually do it for us, okay? Elisa, yes, you can follow up with me offline. So I'm gonna scroll down and I can actually even see private schools that are there in the area as well. I can continue to scroll down. Guys, our app and the partnership. So we've talked about Google already. We've talked about Nextdoor. Guess what? We've also got a partnership with Yelp. So you can see whenever you search for a neighborhood, it's going to pull up, are there any places around there that Yelp already has with regards to restaurants, grocery, nightlife, cafes, shopping, arts and entertainment, or fitness. So you can see this neighborhood has 2 restaurants located nearby, and then a shopping center or some sort of shopping place, Optical Edge. I imagine that's an eyeglass store. So I can go in and actually see, okay, cool, it's close to Buck's Pizza, it's close to Adelaide's Boutique, I got Good Ranchers, business products there, and you can just start scrolling through and see all of the different Yelp locations that are near this neighborhood. All right, I can continue to scroll down, and finally I can see homes for sale that are either in or near this neighborhood. Okay, so that's the ability to search by neighborhood. How often do we have consumers say, hey, I don't know much about Clear Lake, but I've heard that X is a nice neighborhood. Or I don't know much about Clear Lake, I don't know the streets, but my mom lives in X neighborhood and we'd like to live near her. They can actually search for the name of the neighborhood and get zoomed in right in on the neighborhood. Right? How often you say, well, hey, we want to live in Cinco Ranch. Can you tell us a few streets that are there so we can look for property? Like, what are the cross streets for Cinco Ranch? I don't know. Type in Cinco Ranch and it'll tell you, right? So here's a great example of just one more thing that we can do on our app is search by, via the search terms, neighborhoods. Next thing we can do a basic standard house search. Okay, so let's start with, let's just say I wanted to move out to be closer to you guys. So 3 daughters, I gotta have at least 4 bedrooms, so I can click on beds. I'm gonna do 4+. Next, I gotta have a single family home, can't have a townhome or condo. I've got 2 dogs, they gotta have a backyard. I'm gonna click on more next, and I'm gonna get some additional filters. So let's say purchase price, let's go 3 to 4. And I can just click on either one of these dots and drag left, drag right. I can scroll up and you can see listing type. It defaults to active for sale properties. You can choose some of those other statuses if you choose to, and then see properties pop up with those statuses. Now, I will tell you that there are 1,400 plus MLSs throughout the entire US. And so each one of those has slightly different ways to communicate information back to the consumer app. So I will tell you right now, HAR, they are still mapping over the foreclosures and short sales. So I can tell you just from having used it on a local level personally, I know that they are still working on mapping those. So if you do choose foreclosures and short sales, that mapping has not quite made it in yet. You do have the ability though, if you're looking for lease properties, You can toggle just below that status box for rent, and now we would be looking at leased properties, or I can go back to looking at for sale properties. As you scroll through, you can see additional filters, 3 daughters, gotta have at least 3 bathrooms. We're in 2,600 square feet right now. It's made the quarantine kind of interesting. Let's get 3,000. Who wants to clean a 10,000 square foot house though? Let's do, I don't know, 4,500 there. And then you can see some of the additional filters that are available. Once I click on done in the top right-hand corner, it's now going to show me which properties are available. Oh, it looks like the prices didn't set. So let's do that one more time. So price-wise, I said I wanted to be 300 to 400. Here's what's going to end up happening, guys. I have too small of a window, or I'm too picky, right? Because there are no properties that match my criteria right now in this square. Now, if I zoom out, you can see, well, I needed to go just a little bit further north, and then I can start seeing some properties that are available that match my criteria. I can even zoom in and start to see, okay, what neighborhood are they in? It looks like I'm gonna need to be in North Fork or maybe Pine Brook to find those areas. Now I could do all of these, right? And let's just say, all right, so I'm looking at this and I'm like, all right, I want to be south of Clear Lake City Boulevard, and yet I still want to be in the Pine Brook neighborhood. So I'm going to click on the draw button towards that right corner. It's a little finger pointing up. And then I'm going to start tracing on the map. I want to be south of Clear Lake City Boulevard, still sort of in Pine Brook. So let's just kind of make that line like this. And now you can see that I have outlined a specific area on the map that I want to live in. That took some time for me to put all those features in. And what happens if tomorrow I want to come back and then I got to redo all of this work? No, I can actually save this as a search. So I'm going to click on the ribbon that says save, and I'm going to call this, let's just call it Clear Lake Homes. And then I can click on save. Now I have saved this actual search within my saved button. So at the very bottom there, you'll see there's a heart icon. That's kind of my library of saved searches and saved properties and collections. If I click on it, you can see at the bottom of the screen, there is my recent saved search, and the most recent one is Clear Lake Homes. I can click on that and be taken right back. If for any reason I had cleared out all my filters, I had changed my filters, I had moved around on the map, say I'm over here now, I'm up here, and I'm like, no, let me go back to where I was. I can come back to saved, click on Clear Lake Homes. It takes me right back to the same criteria and map area that I outlined earlier. Okay. One thing I did not show you is that you do have the ability to actually search by school district. So in the chat, is it Clear Lake Independent School District? Is that what it's called down there? Let's just start searching. Clear Creek Independent School District. Yep, there we go. So I can actually click on Clear Creek Independent School District, and then I can see the outline of the school district. What is south? Is that Dickinson Independent School District? And there's Dickinson Independent School District, right? So if someone said, hey, I want to make sure that I am not in Clear Creek, but I'm in Dickinson or vice versa, you can see that you can actually search for the actual school districts. Now, someone give me the name of one of the elementary, middle, or high schools there. Let's do a high school. What's the most popular high school there? Is it just Clear Lake High School? I don't know. I've got Clear Falls. All right, so Clear Falls High School. Now, we're not going to get the boundaries for Clear Lake High School. However, it does allow us to zoom in on the actual school, right? So there is Clear Falls High School. So if I had someone that said, hey, we want to make sure we're zone 2, in this case, Clear Falls High School, you could search for the school, and then you're going to see properties around there. Now, you're not going to know the actual boundary. However, what you could do is pull up, maybe on your laptop, the actual ISD website that shows the boundaries of the high school. And then you could come in and click on draw, and you could say, well, I know it's, south of this, south of here, and then it comes down here, and then it comes down here, and then it's around here. And then there's that little weird cutout, and then it comes here, and then we miss these people, and then it comes, right, whatever. So they could draw the boundary themselves for the high school if they wanted to, okay? So just one more tool that they can use. They can search for the actual school they want to be close to, and then look at homes that are for sale around it. Now, obviously, anytime you click on a school, on a home, so let's look at that. Let's just click on this 345 one here in the center. Okay, so here is an actual property being listed for sale. I'm going to drag upwards, and then I can see, all right, first of all, there are 50 pictures uploaded for this listing. I can start swiping left, and I can see all of the photos. Now here, these are actually, let's be real, these are pretty small photos. I can actually click with my thumb on the photo, and I can say, oh, I want a better idea of what that front entryway looks like. So it will take a second to load these photos. I have noticed that. However, watch what happens. I can now zoom by pinching out on my screen. You guys know how to zoom. I can also turn my phone sideways, and I can now see the picture in bigger format, and I can continue to zoom. If I want to say, oh, what's out the back door? Okay, cool, that's the, right? So you can get, and this is brand new as of the app yesterday. It used to be that you couldn't even actually click on the photos. This was really your only view here. So some improvements with regards to viewing the photos on the app, which is pretty exciting. Now I can see information about the property. This property is listed at 344.9. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2436 square foot house. There's some white space underneath the price, just above the address and below the price. You can actually, if there are any recent price decreases, you're going to see that there's going to be a little squiggly green arrow pointing down, and it will tell you what that price decrease was. So for any reason they've reduced the price on this house, 2,000, 5,000, 10,000, whatever it was, you would see the little line that would show you how much that price decrease was. Below the address, you'll see a toolbar with 3 buttons. You can save, hide, or share this listing. If I want to save this listing, I would just click on the save button, and then I can save it to a collection. Now, by default, I'm going to have a collection automatically on my app that says Marty's Favorites. So I can just save everything to my favorites if I don't want to create my own custom collection. That being said, if I wanted to, I could come in here and say, oh, these are the Clear Lake homes I'm looking at, because I might be looking at some Galveston homes, I might be looking at some Pearland homes, I might be looking, right? And they could get even as granular as particular neighborhoods. These are all my X neighborhood, all my Y neighborhood, all my Z neighborhood, and start to save properties to each one of those collections. So I just clicked on the dot next to the name after I created it, and then I can click on save. Now this property has been saved, you can see at the bottom of the screen there, to my actual Clear Lake Homes collection. Guys, collections can be used for a variety of things. Obviously, if a buyer is looking in multiple neighborhoods or multiple areas, but also think about it, maybe they're doing a kitchen remodel and they want to start saving pictures or listings of really nice kitchens or really nice master bathrooms or really nice, you know, flooring, or maybe they want to get a pool. And so they're going to meet with their pool person, but they don't really know what they want. They just know that they like it when they see it. So then they could spend time on the app looking at homes for sale with pools, and then save ones that they liked to the collection of nice pools or whatever they call it. And then when they meet with the pool builder, they could actually just pull up all their listings that we like this style, blah, 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 we like this style, blah, 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 we like this style, and show them the pictures of all the pools or the kitchens or the master baths or whatever they're doing. You could also create collections around different areas. If you have an investment property and you want to just start seeing, hey, what's happening in that area, I could add properties to a collection around an investment property. It might be dream homes. At some point in the future, I would love for our family to live on Lake Travis. It's just kind of a 10, 15-year goal. I want to be on the water with a boat slip and the boat right there, just so I can take it out anytime I want, and go skiing with the girls or whatever. I could start dreaming right now by creating a collection of Lake Travis homes for sale. It's going to give me a good reason to kind of say, okay, that's why it's a 10-year plan, because those houses are very expensive, and yet it's a goal. So you can see the different reasons why people could create collections and add properties to them. To view your collections, you're going to go right back to that heart. So I'm going to drag that property down. You can see, because I made this one a favorite, it has a heart next to it on the map. Then I can click on saved, And now you can see recent collections. There's Clear Lake Homes that I created. And if I click there, you can see the property. I can even add notes. This is the one with the really nice backyard, right? Because later on, if I'm looking at it, I'm like, why did I save this one to my collection? That house doesn't even look that cute. Well, I could be like, oh, right. That's the one that has the really nice backyard. Okay, great. Now I realize why I saved that. So the consumer can add notes to each one of these items that they're saving to their collection. Let's look more at the actual listing itself. We were going through that. So we saw how to save it. Now, how many of you have consumers that are searching for properties in a particular area and they're looking every day and they're like, it's the same 6 homes. I'm so sick of seeing these same 6 homes. Well, great. You can say that one's a favorite. Let's go back to the map and I'm going to look at this 529 one and I'm going to say, well, that's nice. And yet, nope, that one's just not for us. I don't want to see that one anymore. Here's a good example of the price decrease as well. You see that little squiggle with the 20K. I could hide this listing. So when I click on it, you can see the eye turns red, a joke, it kind of goes bloodshot. And now when I go back to the map, you can see it is light gray. You see how it kind of went gray instead of black. And then if I move away from that area and come back, that listing is now gone. So your consumer could literally go through all of the listings in this area and decide, is it a favorite or does it need to be hidden? Favorite or hidden, favorite or hidden, and eventually end up with only properties that they're interested in and not see any of the ones that they know they're not interested in. That way, the next day or next week, when they go to look at their saved search, it's either going to have a heart or it's going to be a new listing that they haven't viewed yet. And then they can check it out and say, is this a favorite or is this one I need to hide? Okay, so it's a great tool as they're kind of searching in that voyeuristic stage where we're not quite ready to put an offer in, but we want to start seeing ones that maybe we're setting up some showings for soon. Right, so that's the hide button. Now, if for any reason they say, oops, I didn't mean to hide that property, or for example, I've had it where, I mean, my wife and I send each other property every now and then whenever we're just kind of dreaming about a bigger house. And I might have hidden one and then she sends it to me and I'm like, I don't see that on my map. Oh, wait, I might have hidden it. I can go back to the more button at the top right-hand corner, go into that listings filter that we were in earlier and scroll all the way to the bottom. You'll see a button that says show hidden listings. I can toggle that back on, then click on done. And now you can see it grayed out there in the back. If I click on the listing itself, then I can scroll up and click on the hide button one more time. And now that property is no longer hidden and it will continue to show up on my map anytime I search. Okay, so that's how you share, excuse me, that's how you save, that's how you hide. Now we'll go into actually sharing a property. So you can click on the share button. This is similar to most every other app that's out there. And it will allow you to quick text the property. You can airdrop it. You could send it via text, mail, Facebook, any of your other communication programs that you have on your phone. Now, if you click on text, it's going to just send an actual link to the property. They do not have to have the consumer app in order to view it. It actually is just a single web page. It's like a landing page, if you will, for that property. So when they click on it, it's basically just going to open up in their phone browser. So if they're using Safari or Chrome or whatever they browse on the internet in their phone, that's what would actually open up. So it doesn't prompt them to download the app. It doesn't require them to have the app downloaded. It's literally just a single website page about that property. So that's how they can actually share properties. If it's, you know, obviously Nicole and I sending properties back and forth between us, or if it's partners or business partners, or I want to share it with my mom or my best friend or whatever, that's how you can share properties from within the app. Next, as we continue to scroll up, you can see there are 2 buttons there for Keller Mortgage and Keller Covered, 2 amazing options, both for buyers and sellers. Because remember, even if I'm a listing agent, because I'm a Keller Williams listing agent, the buyer of the property that I'm listing does have the right to work with Keller Mortgage should they choose to. So it's kind of a reminder in case you didn't have a chance to fully explain Keller Mortgage or Keller Covered for the actual consumer to have that information. Now, I'll be honest with you, I work closely with a local lender here in Katy, and he has literally told me, hey, I have no problem with you sharing Keller Mortgage because I want to compete and I can't look that much better unless you put me up against somebody else, right? So he does some things that Keller Mortgage doesn't. Obviously, the fact that he's local but he doesn't do some of the things that Keller Mortgage does. And so you can see obviously that then, you know, and that's why I want to make sure you guys understand that most of your lenders should feel the same way. Competition is not necessarily a bad thing. Teresa, yes, we are recording it, and I'll send it this week later on to your leadership team, the YouTube link. So Keller Mortgage, Keller Covered. Below that, you can see that you've actually got the listing details, right? The description, public description pulled from the MLS, okay? Next, here's a question for you guys. In the chat, based upon the screen in front of your hand, in front of your hands, in your hand, right? Whatever you're looking at. On your screen, you can see information about this property. I want you to tell me in the chat, who is the listing agent? Who's the listing agent? Who is the listing agent on this property? Anyone tell me? Okay, so Christine says it's Houston AOR. Elisa says Texas Cashback. Aurora says it seems like me. So everyone's close and yet not quite. Okay, so Houston AOR, that is the Houston Association of Realtors. That's the source of the listing, meaning the MLS. Texas Cashback Real Estate, that's the name of the actual brokerage. So it'd be similar to seeing Keller Williams Clear Lake or EXP or blah, 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 whatever the brokerage might be. Here's the great thing, guys. The listing agent is not even listed on the listing detail page in our KW Consumer app. It is not required in the state of Texas, and so therefore they do not put it on there. Why is that a good thing for you as the agent who has worked to create this person that was once just a name and phone number into a contact or a lead and then a contact and now an actual buyer? You spent all of that time. Why would it be important for them to use your app and not have the listing agent's name and phone number listed? Alyssa nailed it, right? The customer cannot reach out. Now, can they? Of course they can, but they're not going to get that information from the app, right? If the buyer or seller that's looking at this actual property has a question, they can choose to get out of the app, then go on to some other site, search the property one more time, see if they can find the listing agent's information there. Or they could just simply click on Ask Your Agent, the agent that shared this app with you, right? And ask the question there. You can see if I click on that black button in the bottom right corner, boom, quick and easy, I have the ability to ask a question of my agent Marty, and he'll get back to me about this property. Okay, so that's the great news, is that there are apps out there that your consumers are using right now that quickly and easily provide them with the name, sometimes even the phone number and email address of the listing agent. Some apps even have multiple agents listed, and some of them are the premier agents. You know which apps I'm talking about, right? So this is not necessarily a selling point for the consumer, and should be a selling point for you to get your consumers using this app among all the other selling points that we've talked about. And yet specifically as an agent, I don't know that I want my buyers using an app that has contact information for another agent. What was the point? I worked so hard to get them in my car or working with me, and now all of a sudden the app that I'm referring them to is going to give them someone else's information? No, that's not what I want, right? So that's the nice thing about the consumer app on the KW side, is that we don't provide the listing agent's information on these listings. Next, you can see it's pulling additional home details, all pulled from the MLS. It tells me what neighborhood this listing is in case I didn't see that earlier, and I can get a quick glimpse of market stats, and then I can also click on Explore and get that more detailed page, whoops, that more detailed page about that actual specific listing, the neighborhood that this listing is in. So if we scroll up, you can see I can click on Explore, and then it's going to pull up the neighborhood page and see all of the information about the neighborhood, which I showed you earlier when we were searching for a specific neighborhood. I can minimize that, continue to scroll up. I'm going to get information about what locals say. Looks like you guys like to drink and eat out there in Clear Lake. I feel you, you're my people. Walkability, and then commute times. Now, these are commute times to these specific areas. So someone tell me, let's do a popular grocery store, a popular restaurant, and then some other popular location there in Clear Lake that a lot of people like to go to. Give me a popular restaurant there in Clear Lake or a popular grocery store. Throw it in the chat. Okay, so Dixie says Opus Grill. So I can search for a place within the app. I'm in an actual listing. I can search for a place and I can type in Opus Grill. And is it Opus Ocean Grill, Marina Bay Drive, Clear Lake Shores? Is that the one we're talking about, Dixie? Or is it the Bistro and Steakhouse? Okay, so it's the first one. So I'm gonna click on that first one. And it's now gonna tell me that if I buy this house, it'll take me 11 minutes to drive to Opus Ocean Grill. I can bike there and it would take me 19 minutes. And if I wanted to walk, because I know I'm gonna order extra calamari, it would take me 1 hour and 13 minutes to get there. And this can be any location, right? What's the address of your market center there? Who's got the address for the actual market center? Who knows it by heart? Someone throw the address in the chat there. Address of the market center. So if you bought this house, you could say, how far will it be for me to drive to work, right? Just you as the consumer driving to your office where your agent is. No one knows the address? There it is, 18, thank you, Janine, 18050 Saturn. Okay, so I could throw that in. Lane, there we go, Houston, Texas, right? And so now I can see that's not correct. 18050 Saturn Lane, Houston. There's no, oh, it's walking. Okay, I was thinking that drive time. There we go, so I can click on drive time, I can see it will take me 16 minutes to drive to work. I better hope I don't run out of gas though, because it would take me 2 hours and 30 minutes to walk home. Or if I'm just a real fitness nut, I could say, hey, it would take me average 40 minutes to bike to work or bike home. And so I've oftentimes worked with buyers that have said, hey, we need to be within an X minute drive from Y. And Y could be the kid's school, husband's work, wife's work, partner's work, whatever it may be. Maybe it's we want to live within 30-minute drive of my family. Okay, great. Well, what's your family's address? And they could put that in as one of their places. And then any property that they click on, they can see how far of a drive is it to. And sometimes you're walking that fine line, right? I want to be within 20 minutes of my parents' house, but no more than 30 minutes away from work. Great. When you train the consumer, they can put up to 3 different places in their app. And then anytime they're looking at any listing, they will see the drive, bike, and walk times of any one of those. Now, again, right, Houston traffic, we all know, so take it with a grain of salt, and yet it's kind of a rule of thumb. At least they can compare the listings and see which one's going to end up being closer to what they're looking for. This listing is zoned to the following schools, so you can see the elementary, intermediate, and high school. And then again, you can see if there's any nearby private schools. Are there any upcoming open houses on this property? Then you've got a mortgage calculator. I'll say use that carefully. It doesn't include taxes. So we know obviously in Texas that can impact your payment pretty significantly. You're gonna have some additional information there for Keller Mortgage and Keller Covered. Guys, and this part is brand spanking new. Like you're the first class that I've taught this portion of it. So it's pretty exciting. You can see that as I scroll through, the button has been at the bottom the entire time. And yet I can also choose to schedule a tour from within the app, the actual listing page. So either one of these 2 buttons, the black one in the middle of the screen or the white one at the bottom, do the same thing. When I click on it, you can see, okay, well, what's your availability? You wanna go see this house? All right, I'm available. And here's the nice thing, right? It's not gonna hose you by allowing them to choose, like, I wanna go see it right now. So it defaults to the next day. Now, of course, if they wanna see it tonight, they would just have to reach out to you direct. But I like this portion of it because it makes sure that you have at least a little time. If you're logging into Command daily, right, you'll never miss one of these alerts because they can't say, oh, it's 5 o'clock, I wanna go see it at 6. If they wanna do that, they can contact you. But as far as scheduling the availability, they can say, I'm available Friday night, I'm available Saturday, anytime, morning, afternoon, or evening, and then I'm available Sunday, but we go to church, so it's got to be afternoon and evening, and click on save. As they scroll up, remember this is the consumer, they can choose whether they want an in-person tour, like, hey, I want you to show it to me and I want to meet you there, or do we want to actually do a live video tour, meaning I'll go to the house and then I can tour it while we're together on a live video chat. And that can be done via Zoom, FaceTime, Google Hangouts, Google Duo, Facebook Messenger. This is what they're preferring or they're requesting. And you can see I can choose more than one. If I want any one of those three, I can then click on Schedule Video Tour. And you'll see that there's the request that has come through. Now I'm going to show you, well, there you go, right? Here's my Kelly app already alerting me that Marty Miller as the agent has a video tour requested from Marty Miller, the consumer. So immediately I've already got a Kelly notification on my phone that one of my consumers, who also happens to be named Marty Miller, is requesting a video tour. So if you don't have Kelly on your phone, you've got to make sure you've got Kelly downloaded and that she is up and running so that you're getting those alerts on your phone as well. Finally, at the bottom, you can see if there are any nearby homes to this property. So are there any other, sorry guys, let me turn off this real quick. Are there any other homes listed nearby? And then again, I can look through and see disclaimer information. Then I can see legal information there at the bottom, some more social, and then I am finished with the actual listing page. Okay, so that's how you can search for a property. We've talked about that, how to save, favorite, or hide, right? Save, share, or hide a property. And then all of the information that's included in the actual listing detail. Now, if your consumer wants to hard code 3 places in their app, they can do that as well by clicking on the More button in the bottom right, going to the second menu option, which says My Account, and then they can choose the third menu option, which says Places. And this is where they can actually put their 3 places. So might be partner 1's work, partner 2's work, and then the kid's school, or your favorite grocery store, church address, and parents' location, or whatever it may be, right? So they can click on Add Another Place. Now 3 is the max that they can put in, but the other cool thing is they don't have to know addresses here either, right? Let's just say they really like going to Trader Joe's. So they can type in Trader Joe's. I don't even know if you guys have one out there. It doesn't look like there's one real close, but maybe the closest one to them is the one on Westheimer Road. So they could choose that. Now, when they look at every listing, they'll know how far is it to get to Trader Joe's. But you saw, all I had to do was type in Trader Joe's and it actually gave me all of the locations. I could actually type in Target, right? And it's going to give me a long list of targets. Now, your list probably looks different from my list because, again, remember my phone has GPS in it. So it's most likely sending me the closest targets to me because I'm sitting here in Katy. Your locations probably have a different series because it's not only using Google, right, which Google addresses match or which Google terms match these addresses, but also what makes the most sense based upon where you're sitting. When we're searching for properties, there's a couple of different things that we can also do when we're searching. How often, right, you guys have the raise hand button down here at the bottom, just so I can see how often do you guys do like me? You're walking, biking, riding, driving, anywhere, doesn't matter, and you see a for sale sign. What's the first thing you do? Wonder how much it is, right? Are you like me? Like, it's not even a house that you're really interested in, but you immediately want to know, you're curious. You're just like, I just want to know how much it is. I'm not looking to buy a house. I don't even like that house. I don't even like this neighborhood. I don't even know where I am, but I want to know how much it is, right? So here's the cool thing using the KW Consumer app. Anytime they want to know how much is that house, they can click on that little arrow at the very top right-hand corner. It's kind of cockeyed to the left there. And it's going to use the GPS stored within the phone, right? Because your phone always knows where you are, to zoom in on where you stand right now and then show you homes for sale around where you're standing. So how often are you like, man, I don't even know what street I'm on. I'm not even really sure what neighborhood this is, but I'd really like to know how much that house is. Cool. Now you can just actually click on that arrow and it'll zoom in to where you stand right now. Now, guys, this works anywhere throughout the US and Canada. So remember, HAR's app, which a lot of your consumers are going to be using, is good for Houston. I'm not trying to knock it. And if your clients are ever traveling or would ever consider leaving Houston, what if we want to move to Austin? Well, then I got to find out what's Austin's app, Or what's Dallas's app? Or what does San Antonio use? No, don't use any of those. Just use the KW Consumer app and you can search for properties across the entire US and Canada. So that's the nice thing. A lot of times so my background is in restaurant management. I used to work for Perry's Steakhouse and Papa's Brothers Steakhouse. We would go out to Napa Valley pretty regularly. So if I was in Napa at Silver Oak Winery, I could literally click on the arrow while I'm standing at Silver Oak enjoying a nice glass of Cabernet and realize why I'm not moving to Napa Valley anytime soon as I look at those local prices, right? So I could click on that arrow anytime I get off the plane in California, in Washington, in Connecticut, wherever I am, and I could click on that arrow and it would immediately zoom me in on where I stand to see local prices around. Next question, how many of you have gone on a showing or a listing appointment, right? Either a buyer showing or a listing appointment, and you get to the house and you're like, ooh, I wish I would have known it backed to that or was located next to that, right? Some of you have to feel my pain. I've gone on a listing appointment. It only happened one time and I changed how I prepared for listing appointments after that time. But I went on a listing appointment with a fully developed marketing plan and CMA. I got to the house only to realize that the property backed to a commercial car wash. I had no idea. I hadn't looked it up. I just knew my listing address was 123 Main Street. I show up at the house with this really well done CMA that used comps that didn't back to a commercial car wash. How am I going to tell these people, oh yeah, all this data on here, subtract 25,000 at minimum, right? So it's important. And a lot of times too, right? You may have buyers that say, hey, we want to buy a house, but we've got to make sure we don't back to a bayou. We don't want to back to power lines, or vice versa. They say, hey, we want to make sure that we have no rear neighbors, anything along those lines. After that car wash incident, I started using Google Earth on my computer. Anytime I would go on a listing appointment, I would look up the property on Google Earth. That required me to download Google Earth as a program on my computer and then open it every time I wanted to look at it. And there were some times where I'm like, oh, crud, I didn't do that. Now I just got a wing and a prayer that we're not back into a car wash. Well, here's the cool thing, guys. Because we have a partnership with Google in our app, if you click on more in the top right-hand corner one more time, we spent a lot of time in this listing filter, but you may have not noticed that there's actually a button for map. Let's click on that and you can see that there's actually a satellite view. If I click on satellite and then click on done, you can now see that it actually brings up the satellite view overhead of the properties that we were looking at. So if you were going to list a property and you wanted to see, okay, well, what is it actually back to? You can start to zoom in and say, okay, well, this house has a rear neighbor, but not really, right? Like it's way back there. So you can actually kind of start zooming in, looking around. Let's say you are going to come take a listing in Hunter's Terrace and you don't have a pool. Well, if you don't have a pool in Hunter's Terrace, you're probably in trouble. Look how many of the neighbors have pools in Hunter's Terrace. Now, how would I have been able to tell that if I couldn't actually do an overhead zoom of the neighborhood specifically? So it's just one more tool that the consumer can use, right? Sometimes the consumer just wants to look and zoom in. I mean, you're just kind of like, all right, let me see what's happening in this neighborhood. And they can kind of zoom in and around and get an idea of, okay, well, what's the streets look like? Are there a lot of cars parked in the street? And is this like a 6-car family area? Or, you know, what's traffic look like? Are there any nearby gas stations, grocery stores? It's whatever it might be. So one more tool that you can use in our app that is not found in other apps is the ability to have the Google Earth view of the properties. So one more tool that you can use when you are talking to people about why they should switch to our app is the Google Earth integration of the overhead. So we have spent time today looking at the search button on the bottom left. We've spent time looking at the more button in the bottom right. And we've also spent time in saved, looking at our saved collections and our saved searches. 2 more buttons left to talk about. Feed. The feed is continually being developed. So if I click on feed right now, you can see that I can click on saved searches, collections, and guides. Right now, we are slowly integrating the ability for the agents within Command to start building out collections that they believe would be a good fit, or creating saved searches for the clients that they would be a good fit as well. So that is slowly being developed. This newest release has a couple of features that are now starting to show up in the feed. Previously, the feed was just kind of a dead button. So slowly but surely, we're developing out this button. The one I want you to really focus on is guide. Click on that guide button in the middle there. As what you're going to see are two tabs. One is a buying guide and one is a selling guide. Now let me ask you, if you had sent me this app, I am your consumer, I have downloaded it, I have clicked on guide, and I'm reading through these. Who do you think I assume wrote these guides? I am your consumer, you are my agent. Who do you think I, as the consumer, assume wrote these guides? Yeah, me, right? Patty, I assume you wrote it. Elisa, I assumed you wrote it because you're the one who sent me the app. So here's the deal, guys. Most of you, if not all of you, have probably not spent any time actually looking through these guides. And I'm not here to blame you about it. I didn't know they existed when the app first came out either. However, you're sharing this app with your consumers, and what you're doing inadvertently, unknowingly, now knowingly, is setting expectations of what the buying process and selling process is going to look like when they work with you. So isn't it important that you know what you're telling them is going to happen? Because that's what's happening when they're reading this guide. They are assuming that you wrote this. Okay, so when I work with Patty, she says that I need to drive or I need to kind of, okay, so I need to do this. And then Patty says I need to do that. And then Patty says, okay, this is a cool tool I can use. All right, great. And then Patty wants me to get pre-approved. And then Patty says that when we tour homes, we're going to do this, that, and the other, right? So you got to remember that the consumer is assuming that you wrote this and this is your process. Next homework item, come into both of these guides, click on each step and read through them. I would keep a paper or pen, something handy nearby where you can write notes. Are there some things in some of these steps that you do not do? Don't recommend, aren't a fan of, whatever, right? Make a note. Are there things that you do that are not included in this guide, or something you're like, that's a great step, and I think it probably should be added that we do this, that, or the other? Make a note, right? How many of you believe that the selling process only takes 5 simple steps to close? I love KWRI and I love our marketing team. And I will tell you, each one of these steps is very robust, right? This is a very long and detailed step about showing your home. However, I might argue that before we get to showing your home, there are several steps that need to occur. We've got to stage your home. So I could create a step that says staging your home and talk about, we need fresh mulch, we got to pressure wash the driveway, landscape the flower beds, we got to make sure that inside the house, everything is decluttered, depersonalized, smells good, looks good. We got to make sure, right? All the things that you do when you stage. Do you have a stager that your client will have the opportunity to meet with? That should be included. Next step, we've got to prepare the home for the photographer and videographer. So that means that, first of all of the light bulbs have to be working. They all, if they're in one fixture, meaning a chandelier with 16 bulbs or whatever, all have to be the same type of bulb and the same wattage. My photographer was always really big on that because his lens would pick up the difference in the bulbs and then it would look bad and he'd have to go in and kind of filter it, which was extra work. 2, he always wanted the blinds facing up so that light was on the ceiling. It made the room look bigger. You got to make sure there are no vehicles in the driveway. All of those sorts of things. So that could be a second step. Third step could be preparing your listing for the MLS. And you're telling the client, first I'm going to get the photos back. I'm going to write description of all the photos. I'm going to write a general description of the property. I'm going to upload your seller's disclosure. I'm going to describe all the intricacies of your home, including the measurements of the rooms and so on and so forth, right? These could all be additional steps that you are building out in your guide so that then you have the ability to actually walk through each of those steps with the client. And here's the cool thing. In just a second, I'm going to show you, we're going to transition, take our consumer hat off, put our actual agent hat on. We're going to dive into command, and I'm going to show you how you can walk people through those steps, right? But these little white circles on the left-hand side, you have the ability to actually check those off for the consumer as you go through those steps when you're building in the guide. So that is the guide function. Let's go ahead. I'm actually going to pull up command and then switch my share to command here. So 2 seconds to knock that out. And you should now be able to see my command screen. Okay, so here the steps can be modified underneath the consumer applet. Okay, it's the second to last one down. You're going to click on it, and it's going to take you into the consumer applet. Tiana, there was a time where the steps were not updating. If you go back in right now and make one small change, it can just be an extra space or just a space and a delete, and then resave, they will update. So to change or add steps, I'm going to click on Guide Builder. And you can see right now there are 2 guides. It defaults to a buying guide and a selling guide. In the future, you're actually going to be able to create additional guides. So think about what's a buying guide look like for a first-time home buyer, a luxury home buyer, a farm and ranch buyer, a foreclosure purchaser, a raw land buyer, right? And then selling, first-time home sellers, luxury sellers, you know, farm and ranch sellers. So you could build out guides that were based upon the criteria of the client and then assign that specific guide to those contacts or opportunities. Right now, we just have the stock 2. To make changes to them, I'm going to click on this pencil on the far right-hand corner. Anytime you're in command and you want to make an edit, look for a pencil. Anytime you see a pencil in command, know that it means you're going to get to edit something. Here are the 5 steps in the listing guide. Okay, we talked that they were very robust, but maybe too robust, and maybe they should be broken out. And so in order to make changes to guide steps that already exist, I can just click on the guide step, and you can see I can actually change the photo. I can change the card title. I can change the subtitle, which I kind of think of like the teaser text, if you will. And then this workspace details, this is where all of that information, once you clicked on the step, shows up. So this is where you would go back through and say, okay, yes, I agree with this. I've made a note to remove that. I made a note to add this, and you could edit that single step. If it's a matter of creating your own custom steps, you'll come down to the very bottom where it says add a step. And let's say this one was staging your home. Whatever. So you type something in there, that's the subtitle. And then you do have to have a photo. So you're going to want to go to whether it's Shutterstock or, you know, there's a whole variety of different places where you can get royalty-free photos. And so let me just say, I'll go with this one. And then I can click on continue. And you can see that it has now created a new step. However, it defaults to being the last step. This one needs to actually be the first step. So I can click on this little tab with the 6 dots, and then I can drag it up to the top and end up being the first step, right? If for any reason I get done and I'm like, I don't really like that step, I can always click on it. This is where I can change again the image, title, and subtitle. Here's where I would add all the workspace details. And if I decide I don't want the step after all, I can just click on the trash can and it will remove that step. Any changes I have made to the guide, I always want to make sure I come up and click on Save Changes. And once I do that, then it'll update all of the guides that were in my consumer's hands. Okay, so that's homework for you guys. I'm not saying you have to go and recreate them all if you don't choose to, but at minimum, you need to know what expectations you're setting for your clients. I would hate for them to sit down at the closing table and I'm sitting with Chris King and I'm like, Chris, you know, this was a great experience except for one thing. And Chris is like, what? I say, you showed me this app and you said you were going to check off all these things and we never did any of this. You also told me that when we reviewed offer, we're going to do this and we didn't do that. You told me that when we were in home inspection, this was going to happen, but it didn't happen. And Chris is like, whoa, I didn't tell you any of that. And all of a sudden, Chris realizes, oh, they were using the app guide steps, right? And so I need to make sure. I'm just singling Chris out so I can see his name on the screen. No offense, Chris. So make sure you have gone through and understood what expectations you are building out. Now, guys, this is a very powerful tool. Samantha, you can't do it right now. However, like I said, in the future, you'll be able to create custom guides, and one of those could be a guide for landlords or tenants. When you're on the buyer consultation or the listing presentation, right, the listing appointment, and you're attempting to compete, and guys, if you don't think you're competing, every single person that you know knows at least 2 other realtors. Guarantee you that, right? So every appointment you go on, you are competing. Pull out your phone and show them this guide and let them know that, hey, when you work with me as a Keller Williams agent representing you on the sale of your house or the purchase of your house, you automatically get access to my consumer app. I'm going to send you the link. You're going to download it. And then at all times, you will know what step are we on. So what are we doing right now? What have we completed? And what do we still have left to complete? And you never have to worry about it. Now, you can call me, text me, email me anytime you like. And I know sometimes, though, you don't want to talk to me. You just want an update. Well, all you would have to do is look on this app, and then you can see all of the steps, right? And literally walk them through, show them all, excuse me, all of the steps that are involved in your process, and then you're kind of explaining it. Guys, those other agents you're competing with do not have this. They don't have an app that does this for them. And so it's a great selling point that you're actually telling them, when you work with me, you'll know exactly where we're at. Okay, so always have the phone, and don't be afraid to pull that out when you're on the actual appointment. Now, we've talked a lot about the app. Let's talk about getting the app into your consumers' hands so that they can actually start using it. There's 3 methods to make that happen. Okay, when we're in consumer, so we're in the consumer applet, it's the second to last one down. Any one of these pages we're on, you'll see a button that says Site and App Settings. If you click on that button, you're going to see 4 tabs. In the near future, spoiler alert, you're going to see 5 tabs. Okay, so if you're watching this video a few weeks from now and that update has happened, eventually you're going to see a tab that says Featured Listings. Okay, so that's coming in the near future. Right now, if you just wanted to share your app with other people, you would click on URLs. And then you'll see as it loads here at the bottom, there's going to be an app URL. This is my custom URL for my app. It is case sensitive. So if you're actually typing it in for some reason, make sure that the first half is lower and the second half is uppercase. I can just click on the copy button, and it'll then copy that URL. And then I can go to a Facebook message, maybe I'm texting from my computer, maybe I'm sending an email, whatever it may be, and send that. And when they click on it, this is where they end up going to, is an actual page that talks about the app, right? It has my name on it. And then you can see, right, it's got a video included here, key features, more information about what it is. And if they want, they can actually put their phone number in and get a download link. If they're on a mobile device, when they clicked on it, they can actually click on these buttons and get straight to the App Store or Google Play. So that's the nice kind of setup. This is what you're sending them if you want to send them to, they get the downloaded version. Now, I would always say it's a matter of trust and verify. I've had a couple of instances where people have sent them this link, and for some reason they don't get the branded version. I would always make sure that you ask them, hey, will you do me a quick favor? You got it, right? You downloaded it? And they say yes. And I say, cool. Can you click on the more button in the bottom right? Do you see my picture? As long as they see your picture, then you know it's been branded to you, right? So the first option is to actually send them your app download link. Text code. Guys, it's not working well right now. They're actually removing this option, right? They are removing this option. So we're gonna actually take this out. I would not be using the text code. It actually does not work very well. They've had some major inconsistencies with it, and they just can't dial it in, whether it's the phone provider or the actual type of phone you're using, whatever it may be. So not that many people are familiar with app text codes anyway, right? So can we send this app to anyone looking for property? Chitra, you can send this out to anyone looking for property anywhere in the US or Canada. Patty, you can send it from the app too. You can, and you've got to be careful. So let me show you real quick. We'll just jump back over to the phone for just a second, and I'll show you what that looks like when you're sharing it from the phone. So the text that's generated when you share it from the phone, it is the text makes it seem as if you are the consumer, right? So you can see in the menu here on the screen, if they click on Share the KW app, it'll create a text. However, the text is kind of awkward. It says, I use the KW app to search for homes with my realtor, Marty Miller. And you're sending that from you. So you would have to come in and change it to something like, hey, Patty, please use the KW app to search for homes with me, right? And so I would just change that from my realtor to me, and then I would send it out to look like that. So yes, you can send this out. This link takes them directly to the App Store when they click on it. So it doesn't actually go to a page that then redirects them back to the App Store. Since it's being sent via text, the system already knows that it's going to be received on a mobile device. And so when they click on this link, it takes them directly to the actual App Store. They don't have to go to the site, right? So let's change that back share over to command one more time and manually send out the app link. Second option, use smart plans. So if we click on smart plans here, you'll see if you've never used smart plans, you're going to have a screen that says you do not have any smart plans. Doesn't mean you can't get them. The library tab up here at the very top will show you the 10 smart plans that KWRI Labs team has already created for you on your behalf. One of them is the Promote My App Smart Plan. So you can see that here. On any of these 10, you can click on View Steps, and you will see what that actual smart plan does. So in this case, this one sends out an automated email right off the bat to your client, assuming that you have their email address, right? It's a dangerous assumption. It's going to wait 1 day, and then it's going to either send you a task to send out this text, or preferably, at least in my world, you have Twilio connected in your settings of your command settings. Twilio is a text-based program that integrates with KW Command. Now, it is not free. However, as long as your text is less than 160 characters, it's only 0.0075. So it's less than a penny per text. If you go over 160, I think it's, in other words, penny per 160 characters. So be careful. I did have one person that sent out a really long text, and it was like 7 sets of 160 characters, and she sent it out to like 2,000 people and got billed like $40. But she thought it was going to be 7 cents or 7/10 of a penny per text. It's actually a 160 character count, just so you have a heads up. But all of the ones that they have built out in our smart plans are less than 160. So you can see this sends out one of these actual texts here. Then it's going to wait 3 days. And then as long as Twilio again is connected, it'll fire the second text. In order to add this smart plan to your library, you would just click on Add Smart Plan, and it would then bring that into your smart plan library, where you would then see it on your list of smart plans that you have access to. You can also come over here on the right-hand side, you'll see pencil icons. Remember, pencil is edit, edit is pencil. If I click on the pencil, it's actually going to bring up that smart plan. Now, I can't do anything with the email. However, I can modify the actual text messages. So, for example, this text message in your system doesn't actually say, hey, it's Marty with KW. My recommendation is when you're sending any text from Twilio, you always identify yourself. I always sent out a text when I got a new client that would say something similar to, hey, I understand that during the course of this business transaction, we are most likely going to be texting one another details from time to time. It's important that I keep those text messages secure and separate from my personal text messages like pick up milk, eggs, and bread from the grocery store. So I've actually purchased a piece of technology called Twilio that allows me to keep all of our texts between one another secure and separate in my real estate platform, so that way I can easily access them anytime and they don't get lost in my personal ones. So this number that this text is coming from is my business text line. Feel free to text me at any time on this number. If you need to get a hold of me, please call me on my personal cell phone at 281 blah, blah, blah. So that way they understand that it's your business text line number one. That being said, they're still not going to save that number to their phone. So when they get a random text that says, hey, do you know you can see cumulative stats about the neighborhood in my new app? Let me know what you think. They're going to say, who is this, right? So make sure you're always identifying yourself when you're sending out your Twilio texts. So the second option is to add people to this smart plan. You can do that one of 3 ways. You can actually click on the plus button to add contacts. And you can see I can search by individual name, or I can actually choose a tag, and then anyone with that tag will show up in the list. So now you can see I've got 318 people with an A&W tag, and I could go through and select all. It'll select 20 at a time. So it'll take a little time for me to put them all on the plan. And yet, again, I only have to do it once in order for it to go out, right? So that's one way. The second way is actually through contacts. I can click on an individual contact to add them to that smart plan. As soon as they come up, let's do a quick refresh. There we go. And so when I actually click on any one of these contacts, let's just say we'll use this one, I can come over to Smart Plans and click on Add to Smart Plan, choose the Share My App, Promote My App, excuse me. And then I can say, do I want to start them right now, or do I want to stagger it out and wait in the future, start them tomorrow or the next day? So that's number 2. The third option is actually in bulk format through contacts. So I might be able to do, let's just say I want to do a filter, and I could say I want all of my buyers. I would click on that tag. I'm going to apply it. Now instead of 3,000, I have 17 people. I would click on this box to select all 17 of them. And then I can say bulk action, add to smart plan, and then I can choose the smart plan from there. So that's the third option of getting people onto the Promote My App Smart Plan. The last way you can get your app out to people is using our campaigns. So if you click on the campaign applet, 7th one down here, this is a free method of creating posts on your Twitter and Facebook business pages. So first off, you need to make sure underneath settings that you actually have your Twitter and Facebook accounts set up for post scheduling. So here's Facebook, here's Twitter. You can see I've got those both connected. You need to make sure you have them both connected to do this next step. So when I'm in campaigns, I'm going to click on social posts. And some of you may say, you know what, Marty, I'm just not real good at Facebook or Twitter. I don't need to do any of that kind of stuff, right? Christine's question, if you do not have Twilio set up, you get notified. Yes, you'll get a task. And Christine, if you put 400 people on that smart plan and don't have Twilio created, you're going to have 800 tasks within 3 days. Ask me how I know that. Not personally, but I don't want you to be that agent. So go get Twilio connected. Otherwise, you can come in to social posts and you say, you're not that good at Facebook. That's okay, guys. If you scroll down on this page, on the right-hand side, you'll see a tab that says social posts. You're going to see 2 professionally designed images, graphics with content already created for you. All you have to do is click on the arrow and it's going to say, cool, here's the text we recommend you put in. Here's your custom app link already included. Here's the professional design already done. Oh, wait a minute, you don't like this wording? One, you can shuffle it and it'll change the wording. Don't like that one? Well, how about this one? Right? And there's like 5 or 6 different versions of the actual text. You can also just come in and type in something else here and update the actual text that goes with the post there. Finally, if you scroll down, you're going to see that I have the ability to schedule this post or publish it right now. I can come in and say, all right, I want to schedule it. Let's say I want something going out. I think I've got these 3 weeks covered. So maybe Wednesday the 27th at 9 a.m. I can then click on pages. Do I want it to go out on what? So I want it to go out on my Facebook business page and my Twitter account. I would click on schedule the post. It's going to give me a preview of what it would look like on Facebook, of what it would look like on Twitter. I can click on schedule posts. And now all of a sudden, that quick and that easy, I have a professionally designed, professionally worded Facebook and Twitter post going out on my account on Friday the 29th. Or not Friday the 29th, I think it was Wednesday the 27th, excuse me. So here you can see, here it's going out Wednesday, May 27th. It's already scheduled on Facebook and Twitter. You could do the same thing with the second one. Click on this, go through that same process. I want to schedule this one. Let's make that one go out on the 29th at 9 a.m. And I want it to go out on both pages. It looks good. Yep, I like that wording. Schedule the post. Preview. That looks good on Facebook. Looks good on Twitter. Schedule. Done. As you see how quickly I just went through and was able to post something professionally looking, well worded, talking about my app on Facebook and Twitter for, and you can see I've taught this class multiple times, and I actually have these posts in real life going out on my business page and Twitter accounts 3 times a week. This one just kind of snuck in here somehow. Okay, so you may say, well, Marty, that's all fine and well, but I really don't like those 2 pictures, or that's just 2. That only gets me through 2 days. Click on shuffle. 2 new design posts. Shuffle again. Shuffle again. Right? And you can see there's about 10 of them that it's going to work through each time you click. Here's one I would recommend goes out every single week. Okay, every single week. So click on this one. It's actually the video from Family Reunion. So you can see already professionally designed, well-curated video talking about your app. And you can do the same thing. Click on the arrow there. This one is hard-coded to publish immediately, but you can come in and just click on schedule post and then schedule that one to go out once a week and choose whether it's Facebook, Twitter, or both. Okay, and so you can see I have that one already scheduled to go out on that week. So the third option of getting your app out there is using social posts to have it go out on your Facebook business page and or your Twitter account. Samantha, I don't use Twitter except for this. And so to be real transparent, I think I have maybe 20 followers. I don't even know how I got them. So I have it so that I can demo it. If you're not going to use Twitter on a regular basis, you might not go through the trouble of creating the account. It's totally up to you, right? Totally up to you. What I would say is if you create it, just make sure that you are posting content to it on a regular basis. But this is a great example. Guys, go book 20 minutes a week. Go book 30 minutes a month. And you could literally do what I just did, quickly and easily go through and book your entire content for the rest of May. And it could go out Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, whatever you decide your cadence or pace of post is going to be. And I wouldn't worry about over posting per se 3-4 times a week. The Facebook and Twitter algorithms are going to ensure that not everybody that's a fan of your page or your account is going to see your post anyway. There's no way Facebook could post everything that we're putting out there. So there's still a very good chance that if you posted 7 days a week, that people in your account would still not see it, right? So I think 3 to 4 times a week is probably a pretty fair cadence with regards to posting. Now, I wanted to show you some of the interactions that happen when you're actually doing things on the consumer app. How can you see what they're doing? Well, first of all, I don't know how many of you, this has been annoying because some of you are high C's and you're like, Marty, you got an announcement. Marty, you got a notification. You should probably go check on that bell, right? So if I click on it, here's that video tour that I requested earlier. You guys remember when I actually clicked on requesting the tour? Here it is, video tour requested. So I can actually click on this notification. It's going to take me into my consumer record. And then you can see, here's the request that the video tour I just requested. It's got the property address and I can click on that. And then it pulls up the actual property page so I get more information about this listing. I can also click on the view request button and it's going to say, okay, Marty wants to see this either Friday night, Saturday anytime, or Sunday afternoon or evening. And he wants to use either Zoom, Facebook Messenger, or FaceTime. Cool. Now I would basically just call myself, right? I would call Christine, I would call Samantha, I would call whoever, and say, hey, I got your request. Cool, sounds good. I'm actually, what works best for me is Saturday morning. Does that still work? Yep, cool, great. Do you have an iPhone? I have an iPhone. Great, let's use FaceTime. Or okay, so you have a Samsung and I have an iPhone. Let's use Zoom. Or whatever it is. You would work out between the two of you how to set up that meeting, and then you would drive to the house, you would get that person live on your phone, and then you would walk the house kind of showing them through, this is the bedroom, this is the bathroom, answering questions for them, etc. You can also see, right, what were we doing today? Well, I created a collection. Do you remember that collection I created? I called it Clear Lake Homes. You can see down here, this is where I actually created the collection. Right, so you can see, here's the collection I created, and here's the property that I added to it. And then, man, I must really like this collection because I viewed it again, and then again, and then again, right? You see all the times that I clicked in on that collection. I also created a saved search. It's called Clear Lake Homes. So you can click on that saved search, right? And you're gonna see it show up. I have a lot of searches. So here's that Clear Lake Homes search. And you can see the basic criteria of what I'm looking at, 300,000 to 400,000. Now, if I was just on the app and I wasn't doing collections, and yet I was just kind of on here and I'm checking things out, and all of a sudden I'm like, well, let me see, that looks like an interesting property. I'm gonna view that one, kind of take a look. Okay, cool. Now watch what happens. In my contact record, whoops, go back easily through here to get back to my contact record. And when we do a refresh, let me see if I get out of that listing, clear that. Soon, right? And I don't know the delay, it's probably just a slight delay, but it would actually say viewed listing. Okay, so you can see this is what it would look like, viewed listing. I didn't add it to a collection, I was just checking out an actual property. You would see viewed listing, and then you can click on the address and see the property that they viewed. Now you gotta be careful, just because I looked at this doesn't mean I'm interested in this. I would really focus on when they create a collection or add a property to a collection, especially if it's their favorites. And of course, if they requested a tour, that's going to be really important that they actually requested a tour. So that's some of the interactions that you'll be able to see on the command side in their contact record of what they're doing on their phone. Two quick schools of thoughts on that, guys. One, I would either make sure they absolutely knew, hey, I can see what you're doing on the app, which is great because then I'm well informed. I know what properties you're looking at. I know when you create a collection, so that way I can kind of have some insight as to what you're doing on the app. That way they know that you can see what they do. The other option is to play stupid, and then you see them add a property to their favorites and you say, hey, you know, I was driving through the neighborhood the other day and I saw this property. I thought it might be a really good fit for you because I remember you wanted a 4-3 with a backyard. The property was at 1423 Norman Hill Lane. They're like, oh my gosh, I looked at that property this morning. I liked it so much, I actually added it to my favorites. Oh, really? Wow, that's crazy. What a coincidence. So do you want to see it tonight or do you want to see it tomorrow morning? So that's the other example. Now, again, I told you I would be using this tool as a selling point when I'm on the buyer consultation. I would tell them everything that I could see them doing. What you don't want to do is call them and say, hey, so looks like you might have been bored this morning. Looks like you looked at about 16 different properties. You created a couple of collections. You want to go see any of that stuff? And all of a sudden, because they didn't know, you're freaking them out. They're saying, wow, I didn't know that you could get into all of my stuff. Whoa, that kind of makes me weirded out, right? So I would always just make sure they knew that you could see what they were doing. Christine, does it work with LinkedIn? Not yet. Right now, you can only schedule posts on Facebook and on your Twitter accounts. So Facebook and Twitter is where we're posting there. So guys, that is the consumer app rundown. We've talked about the different ways that you can search for properties by landmark, by neighborhood, by filtering your filters. You can actually do a Google Earth and kind of see the overview of properties that you're looking at. We talked about collections, how to save a property to your favorites, how to share a property, how to hide a property when I no longer want to see. As we talked about guides a lot, please make sure you're spending some time in your guide. Do you know what they say? Do you want to make any edits? Do you want to add any steps? Do you want to customize anything? And then have a clear understanding of what's working within the contact record and how you can get an insight as to what your consumers are actually doing in the app. The nice thing is too, when you come into contacts, if you're like, well, I don't know who's on my app, you can always sort by this last visited column, and it will tell you who was most recently doing something in your app. And so here's my contact record. 44 minutes ago, I was on the app. So this is where I could click on myself and then see all of the things that I was doing. So I would recommend, however often you're in command, hopefully daily, if not multiple times a day, you come through your contacts, you click on last visited, and you make sure that you're reaching out to all of these people, right? So again, I'll be sending this video link. Let's see, we got a couple of questions here real quick. Is there a certain time of day that you recommend scheduling posts? Yeah, Samantha, they actually say in the morning, so 9 to 10 a.m. on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. It doesn't notify you that someone looks at a property. I just pulled up one of my contacts and she's looking at all kinds of stuff. Yeah, it's not going to give you an alert that someone looked at a property. Tayana, think about that, what that might look like. If you had 20 buyers that were all on your app and they're all looking at properties, your phone would be going off nonstop, right? So right now, the only alert that's going to happen is if they request a tour. However, again, remember, you can come in and click on last visited, and it will show you when the last time your people were on the app or the site. And then you can click on any of them and dive in and kind of see what they were doing, what they were looking at, etc. So that's the quickest and easiest way to kind of see what your buyers, your sellers are ending up and doing. All right, guys, any other questions, comments, or concerns? And if not, I'll let you get on to lunch and the rest of your day. Have a great bold pivot this afternoon, and we'll roll from there. Let's see, a couple of messages. Hang on real quick. Elisa, why don't you send me an email, because I do have an appointment right after this, but send me an email and we'll get a time to talk. How long does a post typically take to post on Facebook? Mike, it depends. If you're doing it instantly, I don't know. I think it's a very short delay. If you're actually scheduling it out, then obviously it's going to post when you go to schedule. So yeah, if it's instant, I think it's a very short delay that it should then be showing up on your page. I'll be transparent. I haven't timed it or tested it. I've just posted, and then I go to my page and there it is. It's been posted. So I haven't looked at the actual time frame there, Mike. You guys are awesome. You guys are welcome. And as always, I'll look forward to seeing you Q3. As long as that baby stays in that belly, I plan on making all my runs to come see the market centers before the baby is due. So hopefully I'll get to see you guys in July or August, and if not before. So take care. And Aurora, the post should stay there indefinitely. It should just stay on your business page indefinitely. Same thing with Twitter. So if you guys have any follow-up questions, feel free to reach out, and I'll look forward to speaking with you then. Take care, guys. Have a great day.